Alright, today I'm having issues with the Frameworks ball lift. We're having an issue with this lower pulley wheel here, the one with the bearings in it. See if I can get a little better light on it for you. With the bearings in it here is it's making some noises while it's rotating. I'm going to go ahead and start it up and maybe you'll be able to hear it. Making a knocking noise. Sometimes that noise it's making is the wheel hitting against the housing here. Other times it's actually down inside the bearing, which is where it's at on this time. If it was just hitting inside the housing, I'll go ahead and shut this off. I'm using the emergency switch on the inside of the ball lift. Sometimes if it's just knocking against the housing here, you can take this belt, you can take the belt here and you can move it over. There are different notches. Can't really see the notches, but in this upper wheel there are notches in there. Might be able to see them a little better from this side. This actual wheel here at the top, it has grooves in it. You could move and rotate that belt over, because the belt itself, it also has grooves in it. And what you do is you could basically walk it over a bit with your hand as you rotate the wheels manually. Don't rotate the wheels with the actual machine on. I wouldn't recommend that. You don't want to get caught in it. And like right now I'm just going to bring it over a row. So that's what I did. I just pulled it to myself, rotated it, and it brought it over this way. But that appears that that's not the issue today. It's something in the actual wheel itself, because if I just rotate it, I can hear it. Get this right in between here. There it was a knock. See if you can hear it. There it was again. So I'm going to go ahead and take this bottom pulley wheel off. Show you how to easy way I found to extract that off the system. I'm going to get basically you might need something to maybe pry with. So I got a cold chisel. You're going to need a 10mm wrench. Maybe you can get a ratcheting wrench. I'm going to have a 13mm socket with a ratchet on it. And I'm going to set up on the inside here and take the inside pulley wheel off. Alright, so first of all, inside in the center of the image you've got the go-kart wheel basically. I need to extract that. There are 3 13mm bolts inside of it. On the inside of that wheel you can see one of them right there. If I rotate the wheel you'd see some of the others. I'm going to take all 3 of those out. I'm going to get this actual go-kart wheel out of here. Alright. So I've got to get this, I found the easiest way to get that lower ball wheel off is to go through here with my arm. I'm going to go ahead and lift this panel cover off. I'd recommend when you take this panel off to flip sides with it, so that way if you had it sitting like this on your floor and somebody came walking up to help you out or to look at stuff, see what you're doing, they usually end up stepping on this because it looks just like the floor, and then they slip and you don't want nobody to get hurt. So I'd recommend just taking that and flipping it the upside up, or the bottom side up. Go ahead and lay down. Get right inside here. You're going to need an extension. Now I'm going to hold the wheel in my hand while I turn the ratchet to break it free, because some of these bolts are just really secured on. Alright, so they're obviously on tighter than I can get off. I'm going to have to get some type of a breaker bar or a cheater bar. Alright, so what I did was I went and got any size bigger wrench. I'm actually putting it through on my ratchet, and I'm going to use it for more leverage. I made sure to test it out once before I wasted your time watching it. So I got the ratchet on the bolt, 13mm bolt head. I'm holding on the tire with my hand. I'm pulling up on that cheater bar and breaking it free. Whew. So I already did one while the camera was off. I just did my second one. Now I'm moving on to my last one. Holding on the tire again. Wow. Man, that last one was in there. Alright. Now that I got them broke free, I'm just going to ratchet them off. I don't know if they put thread locker on this wheel or what. Now basically, to save me from ratcheting a bunch, I've got the ratchet on there in a loosening position, or in the I guess counterclockwise position, but I am just spinning the tire itself to undo the bolt. Usually the bolt doesn't stick on there this tight, and it free spins easier. Yeah, it had some thread locker on there. That's what the deal was. Wow. Okay. Much easier. I'll bring you over so I can show you what I was talking about. What I am talking about. So I'm getting in here, finding the nut. There it is. Alright, so I'm on the bolt head now, and rather than me sitting here and unratcheting the whole thing the whole time, a bunch of turns, I'm going to try and get you set up here. Alright, so I got a hand on the tire above it, and this thing's being stubborn. I'm going to rotate the tire. It's almost getting where it's loose. There we go. I can almost spin it with my hand. Alright. There it is. Okay, so the tire has the 3 bolts off of it. The 13mm bolts. We're going to pull the tire off, making sure not to lose the bushings if they are in there. Usually your V wheels, they have a V cut in the middle. Those usually will have a bushing in these 3 spots. Be sure not to lose those. Alright, so I've got it off. I'm going to show you the next step in here. I've got some 13mm bolts here, or nuts, nylon lock nuts. There's 6 of them all the way around this, all the way over on the top. I need to go ahead and take all of those out. Alright, I remembered a step. I don't do this very often, but I forgot one step in the middle, so I guess you're going to have to hopefully you watch this whole video before you try doing this. There's a nut on the other side here. That 10mm one right there in the center of the image, that one has to be broke free. It's a lot easier to break that free while you still have the wheel installed. It gives you more leverage. If the wheel's off, you're just grabbing a small bearing. That's not good. I know what that part is. So now I got more work to do. I just looked under here and found a huge part I got to reinstall. But that's not from this. That's from somebody else doing something near the emergency cutoff switch for the Frameworks ball lid. Anyways, I'm going to get this back on here. I'm going to just finger tighten these on. Probably get away with just 2 of them. So I got them on there. I'm going to go ahead and tighten them down just a little. Don't want to mess my threads up on the bolts. Notice I'm not going to clear all this out and not let you know that I don't make mistakes, because I do. Okay. Now that I got that in there, I'm going to grab the wheel with my hand. I'll bring you around here. I'm going to grab the wheel with my hand, and I am going to torque down on that bolt to extract it while I hold my hand on the wheel right here. Alright. 10mm wrench. Place it on the bolt head, holding the wheel, or you can turn the wheel while you hold the wrench. Alright, so now it's broke free. Yeah, it's loose. Back to taking the big wheel completely off. Next one. Alright. Now that I got past my mistakes, alright, so I'm going to go ahead and take that belt off. Pull you around here. Alright, the belt down low, probably won't be able to see it down there. Yeah, you can. Alright, that belt goes down around a drive motor in the bottom. I want to release tension off of it slowly because the drive motor has a spring on it, and I don't want to have that spring pop off and then I have to fight to reattach the spring again. I'm going to do that by lifting up on the motor just a little bit. There's a back capacitor bracket There, I've got it right in the image, in the center of the image there. Should be able to see that. I'll put my hand on it. That capacitor right there, you can grip the behind it. Try and get you in the proper position. Hang on a second. Ta-da! This motor right here, I'm going to grab it, that capacitor housing, I'm going to grab it from the back and I'm going to lift up a little bit because there's a big spring that I don't want to have pop off. Alright, so I'm lifting up on this motor. I find it easier to come through this part. Lifting up on the motor as I just pull this belt off just a little bit off the wheel. Alright, so it's free. I'm still lifting up on the motor. Now I'm lowering the motor slowly but manually. And even though you did it, to let you know that spring's still shot off, so I'm going to have some more work when I'm done with this. Alright. Let's focus on getting the rest of that inner axle out. Get you down in this way a little bit to see better. See better what I am actually doing. Guess I'll just manually do it with you in my hands. Might be a shaky image. I'm breaking these free and removing them. There's 6 of them, but or at least I recall that there's 6. Nylon lock nuts and their washers, don't lose them. I'm going to go ahead and, you know they're on there. I'm going to pause, I'm going to extract all those, and then we'll remove this part next. Alright, as you can tell, I've got all 6 nylon lock nuts and washers off. So this part right here is loose, that wheel axle. So I gotta get you some light. Now the next thing you want to do is that nut down there that holds the actual pulley on. What we're going to do is we're going to, wow, what a horrible lighting situation I got down in this cave. Alright, sometimes it doesn't want to come off of that axle, so what you'll do is take the 10mm nut, or the bolt, I'm sorry, unscrew it, which is what I'm doing here, till it's loose and out and extracted. It's the longest bolt ever. Try not to drop it either. I don't want to have to go search and find it. Okay, so it's out. Bring it out and take the washer off of it. Set the washer to the side. Now you want to use the bolt and put it back in. This is really difficult to do one-handed. I'm going to switch hands. See if that helps me any. I'm going to come from the bottom. There we go. Way more comfortable. So thread just the bolt back in. And this is where the cold chisel comes into play. Now use the cold chisel or a pry bar or whatever you have available. Necessity is the mother of invention. And push on just that bolt head. Hope I showed it right. Hope you didn't miss it. And that, by pushing on the bolt head without the washer on it, because the washer keeps it from going past the bearing. Now that you don't have that washer in the way, you can actually bring it all the way through. Alright, sorry I had to reposition the camera a little bit, but now that I've got it going through some, I'm going to go ahead and back this bolt out, because it should be broken free. Or at least I'm going to remove it some more, and I'm going to try and push a little bit extra. There we go. So now I've completely pushed it through. The inside axle here is trying to come out, and there went the bearing wheel. Fell out. If I had two hands, this would have been a lot easier. Well, I'm sorry, I do have two hands. If I had another free hand, it would have been a lot easier. So I brought this up and out through the bottom. There's that the 10mm bolt on the end of it. Go ahead and extract that the rest of the way. I have to find my key pin down in here now. If I'm lucky, it might be in the pulley wheel. See if I can reach it. I'm going to have to get it from the other side. Just to let you know, it's there's the pulley wheel rolled back in there. I'm going to pause it. I'm going to see if I can find all my parts and components, which is just that key pin. Get this thing up back on. Alright, I got lucky. I pulled the wheel out. As you can see, the key pin is right there. Thank goodness. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that out, and we'll get set back up to put the new one back in. Alright, so I've got the pulley wheel set up. I'm going to let you know there is a part that sticks out here on this side, just so you can see it. The other side is a flat surface. See the part sticking out compared to a flat surface. Your flat surface is going to be on the outside. So I'm going to go ahead and lower this wheel down in. Some people may try and put their key pin at the same time. I try and put my key pin in later on. So I'm taking the axle that it goes on, and I'm running it back in through the inside. Lining up with my 6 bolts. Go ahead and put the wheel back on. Slid right on. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my 6 bolts, my 6 nylon lock nuts back on. So I'm going to pause you for a minute. Hopefully you know how to put those things back on. Alright, I'm still getting ready to tighten down those nuts. I just want to give you one more piece of advice. Sometimes at certain centers, this space right here is not as wide as it is at the center here, and you won't have room to get this bolt to go back in. One thing you may want to do before you tighten your nuts all the way up on the inside part is you could take it and give you some better lighting. You could take this part and pull it out. It's actually, I'm pulling it to the left side of your screen, and then that would give you more room to dip your bolt head in the actual area and to screw it in. And as always, remember that you're going to need to put your washer and your lock washer back on it. I'm going to put you back on pause. I'm going to tighten those nuts down to those bolt heads that are in the framework's housing. Alright, so I've already got the axle basically secured back in here, and I'm going to go ahead and put the tire back on, lock its 13mm bolts back down on it before I try and put the key pin back in. I like to have the tire on. It kind of helps me rotate the shaft so I can align the square notch in my pulley wheel. So I'm going to go ahead and pause you again. I'm going to get those bolts put back in. Alright, it's kind of in a bad spot. You're not going to be able to see it or be able to explain it very well, but there's a notch in the axle, and there's a notch in this wheel that I just put in. Sorry, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to spin the tire on the inside, and I'm going to hold this wheel, and I'm going to watch. There's a notch in there, and I'm going to just spin it till they both align perfectly, is what I'm looking at right now. Okay, so I've got the notch, in my opinion, to be lined up square with the notch in the wheel itself. It's actually the notch I've got at the top in the 12 o'clock position now. And I've got my key pin in my hand. I'm going to see if I can just fit that back inside. Okay, so I must have it just a slight bit off in my alignment. Let's see here. Maybe. Let's try that. I just barely moved it, probably like a 64th. There we go. Sometimes that's what it takes, is 1/64. Just so you can see that that key pin is going right back in. And I'm going to use my cold chisel, just pushing that in, using leverage against the side of my approach. Alright, that's back in there flat. And I'm going to come in from the bottom with my, I'm going to have my bolt, put my lock washer on it. Sorry, get some of that light out of there. And put the regular washer on top of that. Coming in from the bottom. Ugh. She had a longer arm. I could reach new heights. Alright. So I got that almost all the way in. I'm going to set this flashlight down. Hope you can still see the... So I can shine it this way. Yeah, you can still see that bolt head on there. Take my 10mm wrench, put it on there, hold it in one position, and I'm going to rotate the tire inside to tighten it. Alright, all snugged up. So the wheel, it'll free spin one way, but it'll lock in the other direction. Alright, I'm going to try and get the spring back on down below. Alright, so the spring that popped off is right here. I'm going to put it back on. You clip it in a upper hole right here at the top of the motor. Down here at the bottom there's a hook. The only reason it stays on is because the spring-loaded tension from the belt, the pulley wheel. So I'm going to hook this on, and at the same time I'm going to go back up to the front. Hopefully you would know how to get that wheel on the same way. It has a sticker on the side usually that tells you how to route the belt. So I'm going to hook it on the top first. I'm bringing it over, and the little hook in the bottom. Come on. So I'm in it now, and I'm going to tell you what, I'm failing. So I'm going to get something to help me out here. I'm going to shove a set of vice grips underneath of it, some channel locks, to try and hold the tension on this spring while I go back to the top side and put the belt on. Okay, I've got my spring in. And I shoved the pliers under it, so now the pliers are holding a little bit of tension on that spring to make it stay. Excellent. Alright, so in the center of the image you can see the grooved motor wheel. It's a little shaft. I've got a groove side on this belt. I'm going to put the grooves to that shaft. That, I don't know if it'd be called a bushing or not. I'm going to hook it on it. Try and get it in the grooves. Alright. Brought you back up top side. Now you can see the belt is down there on the motor. I'm not going to pull too tight because I just don't want that pair of channel locks to slide out or anything just yet. And I'm going to try and do this single-handedly. Probably not going to be the best performance. Alright, I'm going to set you down because actually I'm going to get you set up so you can watch and see what I'm doing. Give me 1 second. Alright, so you know that I'm on the motor on the bottom already. I've got the belt up here in the air. I'm going to run the belt around the big bottom wheel that we just installed. I'm bringing it up top, and I'm going to put around the tensioner pulley where you can adjust the tension in your belt. Alright, and now I'm gonna pull tension with my hand, my left hand here, and I'm gonna reach down in the bottom and lift up on that capacitor cover that's on the motor to pull it up to give me slack to wrap around this top pulley wheel. I like going from the inside. I usually can't get enough pull on this outside. I'm at the wrong leverage point, so I come in from the inside here. I got my hand on that capacitor cover. I'm lifting it up. Now I'm going to rotate this wheel around. Okay, so the belt is on now, but I want the belt to be in further. So I'm going to go ahead and push in on the belt with my finger as I rotate the wheel, and it'll jump grooves on this top tensioner pulley. I want to get you where you can see what's going on here. So you'll see it be able to walk over. Tell you what, I'm gonna make it a little easier. I'm gonna push on this belt. Just got to get the right light. I'm gonna push on this belt from this side. This belt right here. I'm gonna push on it, not the one on the big wheel here. This belt right here. I'm going to push on it and make it walk over as I rotate this wheel. Now I'm going to look at it, how it's placed next to the housing of this Frameworks ball lift, and see if I want to move it back and forth, just to make it so it's not either. You don't really want it to be on the outside edge of the wheel. You like to be a little bit more on the inside. If you get it on the outside, you're prying against the wheel itself, and you'll wear out your bearings quicker. Show you what I'm talking about over here. I'm looking at how it is placed on the wheel there. You wouldn't want it to be on the outside edge. You wouldn't want the belt to be anything like that, okay? You'd want it to be at the minimum in the center or go closer to the housing itself. I'm going to show you how I like to place it. Alright. Sorry, I had to set you down to do that. But as you can see, the belt now, it's like almost in the center or a little bit more towards the left side. Or if I can give you a little lighting at a different angle to make it more visible. See how it's a little bit more to the left side of the wheel in the image. Alright, so that's how you get your belt back on. Everything should be good here. I'm just going to give you one more piece of advice. With your old pulley wheel, you can use split ring pliers. You can remove the bearings out of the inside. You can clean them out with WD-40 or some type of bearing cleaner, but do not grease them. If you re-grease them, it's a one-way bearing system that locks when it goes into a certain rotation. So if you pack those bearings with grease, you don't allow them to slip and lock. So then you'll clean it out, you'll pack it with grease, you'll put it back together, do all this work and it won't even lift a ball. The wheel itself will just keep free spinning around. So do not pack that bearing with grease. Just clean it out if anything, because sometimes you can salvage them. Maybe they'll just get a little piece of some crud in there that's making them not work right. But for the most part, do not pack grease back in there. That's everything. I'm going to go ahead and put everything back together. Hopefully you know how to do that. Hope you've enjoyed watching me suffer and make all the mistakes I can, as much as I've enjoyed making them and suffering. Hopefully next time, if I have another one of these breakdown, I'll redo the video and I'll remember the steps to break free the 10mm bolt down here first before I extract the wheel from the inside. I'll tell you one thing I'll do real quick. Make sure everything's out of the way and it's safe. Looks like it is. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on, see if we have that knocking sound. Sure would be good if it wasn't. Nice and smooth, quiet, no knocking. I think we accomplished what we were trying to do here.